our final part, and let's clap our hands. And we are so appreciated and honored to have all the big players that we are having from Vietnam. And yes, before we kick off this panel discussion, let's have a quick review about who are there. Mr. Dat Tu, he's a general director from Dat Technology. Vu Van Tien, he's a CEO from VITA. Mr. Ethan Pham, he's the CEO from KTG Energy. Mr. Fat Oren, he's a managing director from SP Group. Mr. Vincent Baker, he's a group controller from Interior Energy. Mr. Duke Oren, he's a CEO, Canadian Energy advisor from USAID. And Mr. Duke, he's going to be of this panel's moderator. And let's clap our hands. Welcoming Mr. Duke. I'll leave my floor to you, Mr. Duke.
Thank you, Jessica.
Wow, nice.
Fortunately that you can hear me. Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the panel discussion on paving the way for green growth through buildings in Vietnam solar rooftop. So this is the as Jessica had mentioned before, this is the continuous chapter from our last event in October 2021, focusing on green buildings and solar rooftop development in Vietnam. Well, I'm Đức Nguyễn, Senior Clean Energy Advisor coming from USAID via VLIP2, the Vietnam Low Emission Energy Program 2. So it is again my great pleasure to moderate these sessions with a handful panels of experts from the highest reputable firms actively operating in the market. Before I let the panelists to introduce themselves, I would like to inform you the house rule of our discussion. Our event has a live interpretation function, so you can either choose English or Vietnamese channel for your native language, or you can select the interpretation button and then choose talk to listen to original speaking as your preference. Therefore, our panelists will speak either English or Vietnamese as their best choice. For example, like Mr. Dat from DAT or Mr. Phat from SP Group will speak in Vietnamese for your information. We'll also have the Q&A session in the very last 20 or 30 minutes of the discussion. So please post your queries to the Q&A box. If you want to address the question to a panelist, please write down his name in the question that you post. And I will summarize all of the relevant questions and queries, and we will discuss further in the Q&A sessions. So let's begin the panel discussion, and I do hope that you will enjoy the show. So maybe I see Mr. Ethan, the CEO of KTG Energy. So please introduce about yourself as well as the firm. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Đức. Just give me 1 minute so I can share my screen.
Sure.
Yes, I think everyone can see my screen. Is that right?
Yep, very clear.
Yes. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ethan Pham, and I'm currently the CEO of KTG Energy. So firstly, I would like to send my warmest greeting to all the audience. And I would like to have a quick introductions about KTG Energy. So firstly, KTG or Khai Tuan Group was established in 1996. And after 24 years of establishment, we have expanded into various segments, namely industrial real estate, renewable energies, appliances, or stationaries. So in here, you guys can see the key milestones from KTG. So we start off with Comet as our first brand, and then we have our industrials, and then from that on, we just roll onwards and have KTG Energy, and as well as On Energy, our EPCs companies as well. So a bit about KTG Appliances as well. So KTG Appliances is in 2002. I think the brand Comet is familiar to some of you. So this product line of Comet has been widely distributed in the electronic centers supermarkets, and I think this brand is quite popular in Vietnam as well. Also, KG Electrics. So this is our sort of core strength from the start. So we are the electrical equipment distributors for AC, and we also distribute other famous brands such as Osram as well, or some brands such as Mitsubishi. And we also have our industrial real estate segments as well. So this segment we started this segment in 2005, and now we have a lot of ready-built warehouses in Ho Chi Minh City, Dong Nai, Bình Dương, Hưng Yên, Bắc Ninh, and in the upcoming years we'll have some in Thái Nguyên as well. And then we have KDG Energies, which we started in 2019. And up until now, we have close to 40 megawatt peaks under management. So the next sections, I would like to introduce to you guys a bit about our services and our solutions as well. So firstly, KDG Energies, we are a developers. So if you guys have any factories or warehouses, we can invest rooftop solar system to you guys and sell electricity back to you guys as well. And we are also the EPC contractor, which we will build the rooftop solar system on the roof if you guys need as well. And then we are also a procurement, so we procure a lot of products in the solar market, such as the panels, AC or DC cables, inverters, technical walkway, cable trays, ladder, so everything that you guys will need to build a rooftop solar systems, and the mounting systems as well. So currently we are partnering with Huawei and Antai to distribute their equipments. And in terms of developers, we roof your lease and then we'll sell back to the grid, or we'll sell directly to the consumer below. So if you guys are manufacturing, or if you have any lease warehouse, we can put a rooftop system on top and sell electricity back at the discount price to EVNs as well. And some of the benefits from this cooperation is that it will actually extend the roof life, and it will also reduce the temperature of the factories. And we'll also help you guys obtain the LED certifications or LEED certifications as well. And then from that, you guys can access to green funds and credits. So last year we have had a lot of partners. So in terms of financial partners, we're partnering with MB Bank and BP Bank. And in terms of developers, we are having a joint venture with SkyX Solars as well. And some of our technical partners is Atelia and Daizong as well, and in here there's some of our previous projects that we have done. So this is the biggest project in our portfolio. This one is in Dong Nai, it's around 9 megawatts. And this one is on DDC roof, so Daizong roof as well. And then this is some of the projects that we have done on our own roof as well. Yes, and thank you for listening.
Thanks for the very detailed introduction, Ethan. So how about you, Vincent? Can you introduce about yourself as well as Antoria Energy?
Yes, absolutely. I don't have any slides to share. I'll keep it short. Antoria Energy is a global developer and investor of renewable energy projects. We are headquartered in Singapore, but we're active globally. We have a large portfolio in Colombia, Mexico, and Ecuador in Latin America. And we're also active in Spain, and in Southeast Asia, we're mostly active in Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and of course, Vietnam. So thank you very much, Energy Box, for inviting us today, and look forward to give some global perspective to the Vietnam market.
Wow. Thank you, Vincent. And Mr. Tien, Mr. Philip Bui, could you please introduce about yourself and VITA? Hi, Mr. Tien. It seems like you are you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me share my screen.
Oh. Yes, please.
Yeah. Sorry. My computer doesn't work at the time. Okay, so it doesn't work.
Well, or else we can just, you know,
can
briefly introduce.
The next one, I will come back. I will come back.
Sure.
This is the other one.
So we have Mr. Fat on the show. And can you please introduce about yourself, and the floor is yours.
Ok, cảm ơn rất nhiều. Thì SP thì mình cũng không có slide.
Thank you very much. I also don't have a slide. I can give a brief introduction. We are called Singapore Power, and our role in the Singapore energy industry is similar to EVN in Vietnam. So that's how you can visualize our position in the Singapore markets. We have joined the solar power markets for a while, and we started through a partnership with a Singapore's company, and we have a joint capital program, and we built a plant of solar power energy. We also are currently running 2 projects for solar power for textile factories in Singapore, and another milk factory from Netherlands, and they required HSM standard certification, which is for labor safety, and SP is equivalent to EVN in Vietnam. That is the simple way to understand our role. And we also work on the standard of labor safety. So that is those are the key informations about us.
The representative and the chairman of the general director of VITA Technology. So can you please introduce yourself and about VITA Technology? Welcome.
Xin cảm ơn Đức, cảm ơn ban tổ chức.
Thank you, Mr. Đức. Thank you, the organizer, for giving me a chance to join this event as the discussion on paving the way for green growth through the buildings in Vietnam. I'd like to give a brief introduction on VITA technology. We have been established and growing for more than 20 years. We is one of the oldest name in Vietnam in the renewable energies. We deliver sustainable solutions. We focus on the solar power energy, and by December 2021, our ecosystem has delivered and installed more than 15,000 solar power systems for residential and CMI projects in Vietnam. And we are also an EPC contractor of rooftop solar power systems. We provide equipment for solar and hydropower systems. We partner with local and international producers and contractors. We have more than 3 centers and warehouses in the Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, and Cần Thơ. With the advanced technology, we helped more than 2,000 partners and 10,000 customers to gain a higher performance in their energy system. And we are very proud of our contribution to the Vietnam market.
For the development of VITA as well as for other developers. And in our panel discussion today, we also have the representative from VITA, one of the most reputable consulting firm here in Vietnam. I just want to double check with Mr. Tien,
Yes.
the representative from VITA, whether the technical issue has been solved.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see you now. I can hear you very clear.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everybody in the seminar today. I'm very glad to be here to share with my experience and some my personal view upon about solar rooftop and development in Vietnam. So VITA is an energy engineering consultant in Vietnam. So just briefly about 1 minute, I can go through who we are. VITA's headquarters is located in Nha Trang City, the central Vietnam, and we have the branch office in Ho Chi Minh City, Bạc Liêu, and Da Nang City. So what we do in the market here, we provide a wide range of the engineering consulting service, ranging from the master planning, wind measurement, solar irradiation measurement, and we cover a wide range of the technical survey, FS, pre-FS, technical design, and engineering design, until the technical, many technical advisory service to the customer. Our track record is for solar. We engage in the market for nearly 25 gigawatt peak solar in Vietnam, including solar farm and rooftop solar. For wind, we engage for nearly 12 gigawatt in Vietnam. Also, at the current time, we engage a lot for biomass and waste to energy project. Okay, also, of course, for the substation transmission line belong to the power grid, we also provide in our service. So in summary, we are the engineering consultant in Vietnam. We have the customer from the project developer, investor, even the lender for anything for the technical advisory service for the investment and also during the contract implementation. Once again, thank you so much for your present today. So I'm very glad to share with you on my experience and my viewpoint. Thank you. Thank you, Đức.
Thank you, Mr. Tien. I just have a very quick and basic question on today's topics, because we all know talking about the green buildings and rooftop solar development in Vietnam. So how can we transfer the current commercial and industrial buildings into green buildings? Well, you know that the potential of the green building in Vietnam is abundant and yet underdeveloped. How do you think? Mr. Dat, can you just rock it first, please? Yes, I see you raised your hand, Mr. Dat, but it seems like you're still mute. Okay.
Cảm ơn anh Đức.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Đức. I'd like to give my answer on how do we transfer a traditional industrial building into a green building. So by my definition, it is a industrial building which rooftop solar panels are installed for sustainable purpose. And by using renewable and efficient renewable energies in an efficient way, we can achieve that goal. We have installed 77 gigawatts of rooftop solar power in Vietnam, and the potential is huge in the coming time for installation of rooftop solar power. Industrial energies accounts for 50% of the energy consumption demand. 30% is accounted by residential consumption. By installing rooftop power solar panels on the industrial and residential buildings, it will contribute to sustainable development and also reduce the pressure on energy provides energy supply for the government.
CNI rooftop market. So how do you think? How do you measure the potential of rooftop solar or green buildings market in Vietnam? And the next question also on Vincent, because your headquarters is in Singapore too.
Tại Singapore thì SP
in Singapore, SP have transferred current traditional buildings into green buildings, and we implemented the projects at national universities campus, and also some public buildings. Transferring a traditional buildings into a green buildings requires an integrated approach. It requires energy system of combination, combined of different sources, solar power and biomass power, and EV charging system as well. So you can look at it as an integrated approach, and it is especially suitable for locations that have higher real estate price, because the technologies, the solution is of higher cost. So it makes more sense economically. In Vietnam, we have a project with a textile factory, and right in the very beginning, it is designed with the LED goal. One of the requirements to meet LED certificates is that the factory needs to have a solar panel on its roof. This shows us that more footwear and textile factories are aiming at this design of construction, and when they submit their construction application, they have the system in their proposal. So we can see that the potential to implement such systems and implement green buildings designs is huge, and it is very feasible to aim at more customers who have a higher and higher resources to meet the requirements. Besides LED, which is quite popular in other countries, the Lotus standard of Vietnam, I think there are many textiles factories in Vietnam have already meet this standard, and that shows us the potential is growing, and more companies in the solar energy industry can look into the new and growing group of customers.
I think green buildings are going to be a massively important topic in the coming decade. About 50% of the people in Asia live in cities, and that means they live in urban buildings. Now, a building that has rooftop solar is not necessarily a green building, because if you have a lot of wastage, bad air conditioning, poor insulation, you're not necessarily a green building. On the other side, you can be a very energy efficient building without having rooftop solar. So I think the whole combination of an urban infrastructure with energy saving and conservation on one side and generation and maybe a bit of storage on the other side is going to be one of the next phases in the energy transition.
Thanks. I think it's really a good suggestion, and we'll discuss further about the energy storage system. Yes, Mr. Etten, just feel free.
Thank you, Dick. I think I just want to add on to Mr. Vincent's points. I think his points is very comprehensive and clear as well. So as you may know, Jessica has mentioned about COP26 as well, which is Vietnam is trying to achieve net zero emissions. So in the next decade, I totally believe that green building is going to be the next big topic, and especially when the financial market is also very strict in ESG practices. But let's discover further into what is green building. So as is built and certified by I know there are 3 big units. So one is at LED, well, which Mr. Phat has mentioned, and also Lotus as well. But the biggest player is actually H. H has had a lot of certifications in Vietnam as well. And the definitions of what they give out, the certificate that they give out to buildings is not just only for rooftop solar, but it's also for net zero carbon emissions, such as water wastage. And also, as Mr. Vincent has mentioned, there are other forms as well of energy efficiencies, or EE. So I think that is also a very big topic in the upcoming future, and by installing rooftop solar, this is one of the method to get these certifications. But is like Mr. Vincent has mentioned, it's not a necessary that if you just install rooftop solar, you will get the certifications, but you have to do other things as well, such as energy efficiencies, or in terms of wastage, you have to have a water wastage system to make sure that there's net zero carbon emissions.
Right. I absolutely agree with you all, the panelists. And just to mention and highlight one point, that the rooftop solar development in your factory, let's say, is it, you know, when you develop the rooftop system on your factory, it doesn't mean your factory completely transfer into the green buildings or can receive the certificate from LED or Lotus or Edge, as you mentioned, Mr. Etten. However, amongst all of the solutions for the green buildings, the rooftop solar is one of the very big and key milestone, that very first step that you can come to the pathway of the net zero emissions. And actually, our panel discussion today also more focused on the rooftop solar market. And we, as of back into the rooftop solar market, as of now, we are pretty sure that there will be no such things like 20-year fixed feed-in tariff for rooftop solar in the coming years. Instead, the government of Vietnam intends to introduce the renewable energy generation tariff, which would prefer to promote self-consumption system and only purchase from 10 to 20% of system generation, with tariff to be reviewed and revised annually. And the new decisions that when it comes, it is expected to be after the PDP-8, the Power Development Plan 8. And the PDP-8 has been recently been revised in December. Just, it has been changed and revised significantly after the COP26, as when Prime Minister Chinh attended back in November. And in order to achieve the zero carbon pathway, the government of Vietnam will focus more on renewable energy, LNG, and toward a more sustainable development pathway carrier. However, back in 2021, people said that the market for rooftop solar is quite idle. But as far as I heard from the market, there still be some self-consumption phase, or we call it the captive system that have been built so far. So what are your thoughts on the development in 2021? Any assessment, estimation, or the number of projects that newly built? Maybe Vincent, can you go with it first?
Absolutely, thank you. Now, of course, the enormous rise in rooftop solar has been driven by one thing only, and that's the availability of a feed-in tariff. Because as an investor in a rooftop installation, I don't care anymore if my client consumes or not, because somebody else will pay me. I don't even care if they go bankrupt, because somebody else will pick up the bill. So it makes my business development extremely lazy. That situation is gone. We now indeed are in a situation where we cannot expect a feed-in tariff for the near future. And in a way, from a government perspective, why would you? Why would you need to pay for more rooftop solar? You have proven that the market works. You have proven that people can invest. So even though, of course, I should say that as an investor, I want a high feed-in tariff, I want more money, of course I should say so. But let's be honest, from a government perspective, why would you? It's working. My work is done. Now, does it mean the market is completely idle? Absolutely not. Because there's still a lot of great companies there that have a great roof space, that consume electricity, and they need electricity, and they need it more than ever. And I don't know who's following the oil price, but it doesn't look like LNG or coal is getting anything cheaper. So yes, I think indeed the amount of rooftop solar projects have gone to a bit of a low last year, partly because the feed-in tariff ended, partly because of COVID, because it makes people very cautious. But the economic rationale is still there and is stronger than ever. So for 2022, I don't expect 9 gigawatt in Vietnam, but let's put the bar high, and I'm going to say 3 gigawatt.
Okay. Ethan, it seems like you really agree on Vincent's thought, right? How do you think about the 2021 market, and also, you know, the way you develop the projects in 2021? Well, I believe it will be much different in compared to 2020, right? No more feed and mostly on self-consumption. So can you share some thoughts and experience in the year?
Yes, thank you, Doug. So I think I share a lot of points with Mr. Vincent. But however, I from my perspective, I think 2021 is a very idle year for the rooftop solar market. If you have to ask what we expect for this year, then I think my honest answers would be somewhere around 300 to 500 megawatt peaks for this year. Namely because of the regulations. So in 2020, let's assume there's no FIT, or FIT is 1 cent, right? At least there's still a regulations in place for a developer such as KDG Energy to install the rooftop solar. But in 2021, EVN has stopped giving out interconnections agreement. So in a sense, if we install the projects onto the roof, we are taking in the risk of not having an interconnections agreement while our system is still connected into the grid. So I think this is some of the challenging things in 2021. And I expect that in 2022, these regulations will be in place for, let's say, self-consumption projects. Then EVNs will allow for interconnections agreement, and things will be much more clearer. And also, like Vincent has mentioned as well, COVID is a big factor for this year. Some factories are very concerned in terms of how much they can consume. So that's why it's been a bit idle for the market this year. Thank you.
Right. Mr. Dat, can you share your thought in terms of the how to say the assessment on the total installation of rooftop solar in 2021, as well as the challenges that you have suffer or experience in 2021?
Dạ, xin cảm ơn câu hỏi của anh Đức.
Thank you for your questions, Mr. Đức. I would like to add some of my comments in the previous topic, which is transferring into green buildings. We in Vietnam government joined the SCP and we are committed to zero carbon next year. So that is a very ambitious commitment, but it calls for the participation of the energy industry anyway. It creates a new wave of renewable energy in Vietnam, and it is very promising for the renewable energy market. We have more than 20 years implementing renewable energy systems for factories and buildings in Vietnam. And we believe that the combination of different renewable energy sources will lead us to a more sustainable future, which includes green buildings. And Mr. Duck's questions on my assessment of solar energy market. After the huge rapid growth in 2020, we had not received the advantages from government policy. And in 2020, we had some minor smaller projects of residential power systems, and we forecast that there will be 3 megawatt pro installation next year, including solar farm. This is not a big number for 2021, while we're still waiting for a new policy from the government, and things may change in 2020, but that's for 2022, but that's for 2021.
And Mr. Fat, please raise your thought. I see you waiting for quite a bit.
Dạ, mình nghĩ cái chuyện này thật sự ra
I
phải
think
nhìn.
we need to look at a bigger picture, and let's analyze prices. In 2020, it was higher than 8 cents, and the price for the factories is about 70 cents, higher or lower than 70 cents. And the reduction in the price leads to a reduction in demand, because there are many reasons, many different reasons, but the price is the attractive power of solar energy. And as it is reducing, so the demands will reduce as well. The second factor is consumers. In 2020, everybody focused on EVN as the sole customer, because it takes 3 months to 6 months for contract negotiation, and that involves so many different factors. So the market was very simple in 2020, and there were not many projects as well. No, there were not many projects too. So when we switched to a different scheme, we changed the way we need to negotiate with the different customers. So the negotiation process lasts longer, and that's why the number of projects have reduced as well. There is also an external factor, which is connecting Grid Connect, it is not easy to get approval for connection into the grid these days. So, grid connection, the time for contract negotiation, especially negotiating with different factories, that takes quite a long time, and all of the reasons lead to a reduction in the number of projects. But I think it is a good thing because we are expanding to industrial customers, and it is a question for companies to understand how the market is changing and operating. And if we can understand and forecast what comes next, then we can reach the potential for solar power developments and also to serve the customers in Vietnam in the best way.
Challenges like no fit, the price, the tariff significant goes down, cell consumption. So there will be factories that will not work in during the weekends or during the national holiday. So it means the decrease in your in your revenue, as well as the interconnections problem when in some power corporations or some power companies, they are waiting for the new rules, regulations, and instruction from EVN or MOIT. So a lot of challenge that developer has been suffering, let's say, in 2021. Mr. Tien from VITA, because you are a consulting firm, so you must, work very hard and close to the solar developer, not only in rooftop solar, but I know that in utility scale projects. And how did you convince the and how did you support the developer to overcome the difficulties or the challenge that they're facing?
Okay, thank you, Đức. I also have something to contribute to the some challenges that we have already discussed. In 2021, it is a really bad year for the rooftop solar. Everybody here we know well. So from my viewpoint, personal viewpoint, in terms of legal perspectives, we don't have any mechanism for the rooftop solar development in Vietnam. For the rooftop solar, for the industrial factory or the residential or commercial sector, we need to connect to grid or so-called grid tie. But we need to certify and comply with the regulation by circular number 39 and number 30 circular by MOIT. We must comply. So in terms of legal perspective, we cannot develop for the large scale rooftop solar. Maybe very small thing and we zero export, something we can do, and maybe the power utility ignore. But for the large scale commercial rooftop or the industrial scale rooftop, we cannot in terms of legal. Regarding the commercial perspective, we cannot also do because we have the weekend, we have the Sunday off, we have the many holidays per year. The factory has no electrical power demand, but there is no way for rooftop solar to send into the grid, and there is no benefit to send to EVN grid. So in terms of commercial perspective, it's also zero. In terms of technical perspective, in 2021, it's a very bad year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID pandemic caused very less demand of electricity. Many industrial production, many commercial and tourism services also curtailed and closed, and leading to supply is more than demand. We have more than 9 gigawatts solar sent into grid rooftop solar last year, and together with also solar farm last year also contribute a lot. And then this year, due to very good incentive for the wind power, so many wind solar also sent into grid also cause more severe the unbalance in the electrical power system in Vietnam. So you see, we have the legal perspective, commercial perspective, and technical perspective on kind of thing are very bad, not support to rooftop solar. But anyway, this is a very short term. We have very good news from the Vietnam Prime Minister that the Vietnam agreed totally on the COP 2026 with the net zero, very strong commitment. So this is a very good news on the sector, not only for the rooftop solar, but also for the other renewable energy as well, because there is no way we can develop the coal-fired power anymore in the future. And even gas-fired power also a lot of emission. We cannot meet the net zero commitment. So I think for the future, for the near future, or even maybe even next year, we need to have the very strong and very firm mechanism for the rooftop solar by the government. We also have the draft, the decision draft number 6 on our hand now, but I don't think that's a good thing in line with the commitment of the COP 26 by the Prime Minister. And we hope that the professional association in Vietnam need to voice something in order to change the draft number 6 for further better environment of the rooftop solar development in Vietnam. And hopefully it will be workable.
Thank you, Mr. Tien. So let's say it's like Mr. Tien said that 2021 is a bad year. But let's say consider it from a different angle, different perspective, because the market in 2020 is too hot. It's boomed with 9 gigawatt peak in just 1 year. So when you're running too fast, there will be problem comes along, like over generation in some specific areas, because and curtailment, because the grids cannot be built here as fast as the solar rooftop or solar in general, and the market somehow been distorted. But actually, I think 2021 is a good gap year. Let's say you take a rest, hold a deep breath, and prepare the energy for the upcoming years. And for all of us, to target for a more sustainable market, development. As I have mentioned before, the government somehow is still targeting to no FIT or very low FIT to promote self-consumption scenario. And the revenue will be merely, or let's say mainly based on your mutual agreements with the customer. And it will be as it is, and just a minor add-ups from EVN or power corporations or power company. So we need to, let's say, developer need to deal with the situations. And what is your strategy in the long run to overcome this trend? And any new items that you could offer to the market, like hybrid system or battery energy storage, whether it is feasible or profitable at this moment, or any things that you want to do in the future. Mr. Dat, can you start with with your answer?
Dạ, cảm ơn câu hỏi của anh Đức.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Đức.
Quay lại cái giải pháp.
The solution, according to Vietnam's government strategy, we have a quite low FIT price. And our strategy is to get adaptive to this condition and we try to expand our cooperation with international partners and also with the partners that provide energy storage solutions so that we can come to a combination of solutions that are more suitable to the condition and also the price at the moment. And we also look into building a flexible supply scheme in order to provide customers with energy and at a more reasonable costs. Based on our experience in the installing solar power system, we understand that our customer have many difficulties, but at the moment we haven't had a regulation or the new FIT price. So we are working with financial institutions on 500 square meters and above roof areas projects. So we call for investments and we try to help the factory owners avoid the investments cost in this installation. We also have a solution of a hybrid system, ESS storage solution, and a solution for self-consumption of the factory. We don't need to sell or to buy from EVN. The hybrid storage ESS solutions helps customers to be more independent in the energy supply. They don't need to rely on the grid as much as before. So VITA provides a combination of different solutions, automation, energy storage, and rooftop solar powers, so that we can meet different requirements of different customers. They all want to have a sustainable energy system for their own needs, but all of the requirements need tailored solutions.
Nói cái vấn đề trọng điểm về cái hệ thống lưu trữ pin năng lượng.
I want to talk about battery storage battery for rooftop solar system. Based on my experience, I work with seafood producers and electric equipment producers as well. These factories, they want to use this system as a replacement for diesel energy supply units. And the second reason they want to use it is because they want the system to charge and discharge in two phases. And the system should operate continuously 24 hours a day. So there are two requirements. And when we think of a solution, we need to choose a suitable load for the rooftop solar system. So that means there is not one design for all of the requirements. We need to calculate the criteria for each system. We need to choose the location and then we need to design that specific solar system for the factory. So that is the first question that we need to answer. The second question we need to think of is the price. There are times in a day when we have higher the supply than the demand. and vice versa. So it leads to a complicated situation where we see that there are hours when we have prices that are higher or lower than the average price. And as I have worked with the factories in the south of Vietnam, the average is 10 cents to 12 cents, and the customer should be should have high demand for energy consumption to make this feasible. So there are technical requirements and also requirements of the market prices and adjustment of the system. When we look at the problem, we see that we need to have an analysis from different perspectives to make it work. I have two examples of my projects that I can share so that you can have a better visualizations of the situation.
Can you share about a bit on your strategy to, overcome the market challenges in the next, in the coming year, in the long run, let's say, when, very limited feed-in tariff and self-consumption, and it will mainly based on your negotiation with the customer. And any solutions on energy storage or hybrid system that you plan to offer in the market? Am I Vincent?
Thank you. Yeah, I completely agree with what's been said. We need to have more complex systems, and indeed, energy storage systems are one of them. Pricing are one of them. I think the bottom line is, with the feed-in tariff gone and a bit of overcapacity coming onto the system, and also clients being a bit more picky about their own energy consumption, the contracts they sign, that needs smarter businesses. So the simple days of just throwing panels on the roof and signing a standard PPA are gone. At a company, we work globally on a lot of the more complex projects. So it's of course very easy to do solar for a huge cold storage that will always consume whatever you produce. Those projects are easy. Where we actually see the next big market where we're actively playing is the clients that are not consuming the entire time. Now they realize that they're willing to compensate you a bit for the power not consumed on the weekend, but you need to do a proper analysis. You need to win the trust, and you need to really come with a solution that helps them. The same for storage. It's easy to shout, let's throw some storage batteries there, but the truth is batteries are still extremely expensive, and that arbitration, that profit mechanism between off-peak and peak requires an enormous price differential and a good analysis whether you're really helping the client. On the financing, the same thing. Banks have been rather slow to finance rooftop solar in Vietnam, and if they've done so, it was usually at pretty high interest rates and costs. Again, it's something where I think the companies that are willing to come with solid projects and proper technology and a really good analysis of the client will be able to get affordable financing and again suppress the prices. So a lot of innovation will be there. Just like your phone is no longer a simple subscription on a wire, but is a complex interaction between you and the phone company. I think similarly, rooftop solar is going to the next phase of becoming a very simple product to a way more complex and tailored solution.
Thank you. Ethan, do you want to add anything?
Yes. So basically, in terms of the BSS system, actually, we have studied a pilot project as well that we plan to do. So I would like to summarize it in a few simple terms. So in terms of commercials, if you combine a rooftop solar system and a battery storage systems, it will, in terms of the returns, it will, in some cases, it can work. And secondly, in terms of the curve, if you guys know the rooftop solar system energy yield curve is like this. So essentially, if we have the BSS system, you can sort of equalize the yield curve, and this will help essentially for those who are not consuming in the peak hours. Basically, we can charge the battery, and then we sell back to them at the other hours, because we are doing net zero export, right? So that's the second bit about the commercials. And in terms of the technical, at the moment is quite challenging. So for the battery storage systems, you actually need quite a few areas to install the batteries as well. And also installing the energy storage systems, it will also the clients is also very concerned in terms of installing some battery that there's a fire risk in their factories as well. So this is a hindrance in terms of technical that I see. But overall, I think the BESS systems or hybrid systems, they will be in place very soon as the technology evolves. So in terms of the spacing, in terms of the safety, and in terms of the cost, all of this, I think, will be dramatically improved over the next upcoming years, when I think the world is focusing on net zero carbon emissions as well.
Right. I totally share with you about the customer perspective and point of view when we introduce the BESS system, because it is still lithium, and then somehow the risk of fire and explosion is still there, though it is really, let's say it's like 1 or 2%, but when some conservative consumer, they still consider it as a risk. And given it is the for the best application, it still have some technical challenges that you have mentioned, and we have a very senior consultant here, Mr. Tien, and whether you can give us some advice on the best applications, on how we should convince the customer to overcome it.
Okay, thank you, Đức.
Thank
yes,
you, Mr. Đức. Yes.
Challenges for the financial feasibility study of the rooftop solar. Among the not good situation that we don't have the FIT, and the government is not willing, EVN is not willing to consume, to receive more than 10% of capacity generation. That is challenging. So the hybrid scheme is a good way in this situation. It means we supply for the self-consumption of the factory below the roof, and the surplus power must be sent somewhere. For example, we can keep it in the battery energy storage system. That's a good way to do it. Yes, I agree with Mr. Vincent that now the battery energy storage system is something very, very extremely expensive. But hopefully that now we can see in the market now there is a very, very big transition in the market. We can see in Vietnam just some days ago there is a very big billion US$ project in Hatton province for battery production, and also some other corner of the world that now the battery can be applied widely in many sectors, including the transportation sector. So it leads to the production cost will be reduced. I hope so. Just look at in the past, you see, just about 10 years ago, solar power, we had the investment rate at about $4 to $5 billion US$ per megawatt peak, but now just about half, maybe 0.7 billion US$ per megawatt. A lot, extremely reduction in terms of the price. So hopefully it is the same thing for the battery energy storage system for the next coming time in the very near future. Because in the draft, the latest version of the decision by the Prime Minister that less than 10% of the capacity generation will be accepted by EVN. In this case, EVN buy the surplus generation. But look at the draft version, we can see clearly that we can also generate power from the rooftop solar and sell to the other customer nearby, not EVN. We can see that is the way. So in terms of the technical issue to reduce the rooftop solar bed to store it, the surplus power, we can also sell to the neighboring customer. That's the way we need to study well, and we can apply. And coming back to the question by Mr. Duke about that, the explosion and some accident happened, how to ease the fear from the customer. I think the battery energy storage can be used widely somewhere in any power station, in hydropower station, thermal power station, gas turbine combined cycle or something. We have enough facility equipment to protect the short circuit accident. We avoid explosion and any accident fire or something from the battery bank. So we need that. We need to have some seminar on that in order to give the knowledge to the customer for the industrial zone, in the industrial zone, that battery energy storage is something not new. It's available many elsewhere in any power plant, in the high-tech part factory and something. It's safe. We have the technical measure to make sure that there is no accident at all. That's the way. The knowledge we train the customer, we coach the customer to know that that's safe.
Okay, and Ethan?
Yeah, so Mr. Philip is an expert in terms of technical. So since we're touching on the battery energy storage systems in CNI, I think I have a question to you. Is that how do you foresee in terms of the spacings for these energy storage systems in, let's say, factories or shopping centers or some other form of CNI? So how do you see the BSS system can be installed in those areas? Because for my pilot projects, what we see is that the spacing to install these batteries is quite substantial. So what do you think?
The thing is that we need to find a certain area that's enough area to install the battery bank for the battery energy storage system. We can also put it somewhere in the top, but I don't think that's a good solution because it's increased a lot of the mechanical mechanical load in the existing steel structure of the rooftop system. The way that we can find enough space for the best system, we don't think there is any technical challenging for the battery energy storage system in terms of fire, in terms of explosion or something. I just fear two things. The first thing is we need to make sure that there is enough area for that facilities. Second is the economics of the system, because at the time the economy maybe is not good because the initial cost, I mean the capex is a little bit high, but hope that in the near future that will be no problem anymore for the capex with the best system, I think.
Well, thanks for the question and answer. Well, it seems like we have quite out of time. Jessica just let me know that. So one final question to all of my dear panelists about your expectations and your measure for the 2022 market, given the fact, let's say it's like let's consider the fact that there will be new decisions and regulations to be released. Let's say it's like in Q1 2022, and it will provide you all of the needed terms to freely develop your pipeline and complete, you know, the new system. So what is your expectation for the 2022 market? You know, starting with Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Duck. I think 2022 will be the year of looking ahead. For the government, I don't expect any new regulation. They're too busy. There's still a lot of things to solve on the COVID side. A new feed-in tariff, yes, we all want it. It's not going to happen. That's my first prediction. But my second prediction is, as we say a lot of times, right? Companies are pushed to go carbon neutrals, and companies are pushing their suppliers to go carbon neutrals. And that means that even a lot of local companies across the world, right? This is not uniquely to Vietnam, that until now didn't really care about CO2 emissions. They have their clients knocking on the door. Hey, what's happening with your energy supply? How do you get your product? And that discussion is dominating. The other thing, and you saw it happening in Europe, and it will happen in Asia as well, is surge in electricity prices. Now, before, when we came to clients in Europe, we could say, hey, why don't we offer you a 20-30% cut on your power bill? Well, the last months we have changed our presentations. Hey, why don't we give you a 50% cut on your power bill? Well, that sounds a lot more attractive, doesn't it? And if you want to close down on Saturday or Sunday, I don't care anymore because I make a lot of money. So price uncertainty, an increased focus on carbon neutrality and the fact that businesses are willing to look ahead, reopening, going back to work, means an increasing market for rooftop solar as well as energy systems and other complex hybrid systems. So I said before, 3 gigawatts of rooftop solar in Vietnam in 2022.
Wow. Very nice figure, I guess, and it should be not, you know, bad anymore, as Mr. Tien has mentioned. So how about you, Ethan? Your expectation for the market? 1, 2, 3, or even double the number from Vincent?
So from my expectation of the market is that in 2022, there'll be some form of regulations in terms of what we are most concerned about is the interconnections agreement. I think that will happen because I also have the decision 6 draft here as well. I think the government is actually spending time to show that after the COP26 meeting, they are doing something about the market, making sure that by this year, there'll be net zero carbon emissions. In terms of the number, it's very difficult to say. It's also very dependent on whether or not they will give out some form of regulations to buy back some of the excess power or not. But I would expect if next year around 2 gigawatt of rooftop solar power being installed, because I know for sure that some of the developers, they're just waiting on regulations about the interconnection agreement to start proceed with some of their projects in their pipeline.
Right. So we have 3 gigawatt, 2 gigawatt, and Mr. Fat, as you know, the third international developer in the market or in the panel discussions. How do you think? What should be the figure or number that you expect in 2022?
Mình nghĩ là cái
I think the market is quite flexible. Renewable solar power includes a rooftop solar and also solar farms, and there are partners that who are pushing rooftop solar into the next decision, and I believe that that is one of the effort that are shaping the regulation. In the next regulation, there will be some details on the rooftop solar power. So it depends on the solar power supply. Can we accelerate the home process to reach 2 gigawatt and then sell it to EVN? So this is a race on the next regulation. And the solar developers in Vietnam market, there are new investments. They are receiving new investments for their coming projects. So I see the huge dynamics for the market. So it depends on other conditions, but I think investment is not an issue. And the potential for development of 2 gigawatt is enough, and we are focusing on 2 or 3 targets, and we have like 24 months, and the path is clear. So I think the market is gonna be very active, and the solar developers, they need to accelerate their operation, and after they have reached that target, then there will be more coming after that.
As the local developer, so you have 15 years of experience in Vietnam market. So what is your number?
Cảm ơn Đức.
Thank you, Mr. Đức. First, I'd like to say that I totally agree with Vincent that we need to aim at using solar power in a smarter way so that we can achieve sustainability. Vietnam, after 2021, we aim at combination of solutions. We developed solar power supply system and also storage system, not solely focusing on selling it to EVN. And there are other projects developing solar generating units on different locations of a higher load, so that we can have a higher safety and also reduced cost. Green energies, modernizations of industries, and green buildings. All of these are calling for contributions, and according to a Nielsen survey, 70% of consumers prefer green products, products that are manufactured by green energies. So the companies who have green certificates will have a higher advantage in terms of attracting investors and also selling their products. So that is a huge drive for using solar powers and the renewable energies. In our company, we will continue to expand our ecosystem by including more international partners, contractors, and producers. We also work with more banks and financial institutions for more sustainable solutions. And as I already mentioned, it is a combination of solar power generating solutions and also storage solutions. And this is a 360-degree storage solution. It is not just about the batteries. The batteries have reducing prices these days, but I consider it too expensive. And we can make use, the better use of over demand during certain hours of a day by converting the energies into different forms, such as using green energies for electric e-bicycles, and this can be a promising market in Vietnam. So we should think of different ways of using green energy solar powers. And we also have a plan to creating lighting system using green energies, public lightnings on the streets or in hospitals and public places using green energies. We also have plan of using green energies in larger scale locations. And the key to convince consumers to join in these plans is to ensure safety and a clear way of utilization of our energy.
Close the question. So your quick guess for 2022 market.
Okay. I share my viewpoint. It depends on the COVID pandemic-19, how the human can handle and control the pandemic for the next coming time. If we control well the pandemic and maintain that the economic recovery is well, so I think Vietnam needs about we can have some more production, and there is no curtailment that happen now. So we can maintain 2 gigawatt rooftop solar for next year. There is a negative point in the latest draft of the decision by the Prime Minister. That is the for the rooftop solar up more than 50 kilowatt peak, we need to follow the regulation and the approval by the authority. So it is the minus point of the regulation for the next coming time. But we have the negative point in that now there is a very, very quick transition on the transportation electricity demand. Many electric car. We also have the electrical train or something. So there is a very good transition and very good point on that. So in general, it depends on the situation, but I think maximum is 2 gigawatt. And if the COVID is still at the moment, so about 1 gigawatt only of rooftop solar can be installed next year.
Thanks for all of the numbers and the information. Seems like so we had quite a wide range of the installed capacity, ranging from 1 to 3 gigawatts of the system, and I think it's still a very good number, but a very good and more sustainable pathway that we should consider for the market. Well, Jessica is pushing me as of now because I'm really went out of my time budget, but just 1 minute, Jessica. So
okay.
We saw a lot of Q&A chats and questions from the audience, even in the panel discussion, as well as before during the registration. There's some question in terms of how do you select your customer and what is your offer to the off-taker, and it have been well addressed and answered by either Ethan or Mr. that just customer with the roof space of over 5,000 meter square, or the discount could be 10, 15, or 20% from the electricity bills. Also, there's some question in terms of financial support for the rooftop solar development, whether it's local resources, as the case of KTG Energy from the local banks, but also from international sources, as Vincent has addressed. And we are really looking forward for the new decision, new regulations that could open or to remove the barriers, the obstacle that currently hold the development of the market, and hopefully we can all have a very good and very good and booming years of 2022 with about, let's say it's like 2 gigawatt of rooftop solar development in 2022. And I would like myself thanks all of the panelists as well as the audience that have been together with me over the last hour. And I want to give back the floor to you, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Tao. Thank you so much, everyone, for your active participation and for sharing the information, experiences, and enriching our knowledge. We believe that it was engaging and fruitful event for all of you. And 100% for sure, there is at least 1 gigawatt for rooftop solar here in Vietnam. And so I'm going to share with you our third edition. Solar Wind Congress and Expo Vietnam is coming soon, scheduled on March 31, the same date like this year. And we will continuing to bring together players to share project development strategies for solar and wind energy in Vietnam, and jointly discuss and show potential for development of solar and wind, including cutting-edge trends in Vietnam renewable energy market. We are counting on your participation and looking forward to seeing you guys in person on March 31, 2022, the year coming. Thank you so much for your joining together, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you once again. Bye.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.